Broadway's been turned upside down by Stranger Things, The First Shadow. It's a prequel to the hit Netflix show. I sat down with the star of Stranger Things on Broadway, Tony nominee Louis McCartney. Let's talk about the character, Henry Creel. Do you have to have seen Stranger Things to be able to understand and appreciate the show?
Well, yes and no. So we're a prequel, and it's an original story taking back the idea that Henry Creel, played by Jamie Campbell-Bower in the TV show, he is an enigmatic sociopath, psychopath who likes to kill, and he's very defined by his actions. And you want to be him, you want him to charm you. You know, you don't. He's a very confusing character. And then here we're giving a bit of paint to that. You're saying why is he like that? And it's Henry Creel as a good kid. And basically, you don't need to see it, one, because it's a prequel, but also because we follow a narrative structure that is very easy to understand, and it's very human, and it's very Greek. You know, you'll have a Hamlet archetype, you'll have the protagonist, Henry Creel, you have the love interest, you have the mother, you have Dr. Brenner, who's this terrible, lovely antagonist played by Alex Bro. Everybody's doing a wonderful job, and it does unlock things for season 5. I know you might think I'm lying when I say that, but I'm not. There is lore in this.
I love that.
And it's a big lot of fun, and I think everybody should come see it because it's a blast.
Did you know what you were auditioning for when you went to audition? Talk through your audition process.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. So I got the email, and it was untitled Netflix play directed by Stephen Daldry. That was for a character called George. And we did one scene which was Henry kind of losing it a little, and then one scene where he was talking with Patty. So it's basically the good and the bad, and it's the dichotomy of his character. They were saying, can you play cute, and then can you play evil? I did that. I didn't hear anything for 6 months. I got recalled for a different character. Something happened. Then I got recalled for Henry, and then recalled for Henry, and so on and so on and so on. We got it, and then from there, it was just a blur, man.
Did you know that you wanted to always do theater? That was always the goal? What did you come into all this with?
Yeah, I've been blessed to get to know theater. I didn't know what theater was before auditioning for Stranger Things. I'm trained in film and TV. I went to a university primarily for screen acting, and that was what I thought was my life was going to be. I thought that was my career, and it's what I made my choice on, and I gambled all my chips on it. And then this came along, and it was sort of like theater. You know, what's that? You know, what do I do there? What's different? What do I got to do with my energy? You know, because you do screen acting, it's all kind of up here. It's the only place the audience is looking. But then working with Stephen Daldry and Justin Martin, I learned, you know, if a character walks downstage, it means they're thinking. You know, stuff that you can't portray on screen, you do with your face. You can't do minuscule, but also you can't be fake. You can't be like, hey, I'm thinking. You got to be like,
this is me thinking.
It's a half wager of going, I know you guys are there watching me, and I'm acting, and I want you to know what's happening in the story, or else no one's gonna have a good night.
Yeah.
But then also, I need to have my own experience, and you need to respect that, and then we can all get let in. And it's learning and understanding what happens when the night starts and the train goes and you can't stop it. I think that's a funny thought.
What is it like every night? I mean, the energy that you put out there every night is immense, right? Can you talk a little bit about that process and your voice?
It is a lot of physical activity, but I love it. I've got I did a bit of gymnastics when I was younger. I did dancing, and I'm double jointed in some places. So I'm lucky that my body has kind of been knowing how to move like this. But in London, it took 6 months before I could properly do it. We had the blueprints for it. Mm-hmm. We knew what we wanted. We had this idea that he was a young kid and then boom, monster. And once we got that, it became very two-tone, and we started to develop a language in the movement so the audience could understand what was actually happening and how that would feel. Not just oh, he's possessed or he's going through a lot right now. And yeah, the voice was another thing that I was worried about, and it took a lot of time because we had to develop this childlike innocence in the American accent and then Vecna. And we have the program that adds bass and violence to the voice, the gravelly thing that makes it seem like that. But if you speak normally, you sound like a robot. So we do things where you talk like this, and you drop your voice. And then I also do a gravelly thing, but that just happens on stage. I can't do it now. It'll be too loud.
I understand.
You know.
Would it be too loud?
Yeah. It's
Now you've made me curious.
'cause I'm shouting in a healthy way.
Okay.
You know, that was another thing, was doing it healthily.
How does your family feel about everything? Have they been here to see you and excited?
Yeah, they've come to England, not New York yet. They're both very busy. They loved it. The main thing my dad said, what he was proud of, was that he said I'd like taken the voice and like made it a part of the character, which is another thing I learned, that I wasn't just like doing an accent. I wasn't just like, I'm an American and I'm doing an accent. You know, it's like.
Is that how we sound?
No, but that's like, it's a gimmicky acting.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can tell that's not my real voice.
It's a character of American.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's putting on an accent. And then the illusion's gone and you guys are just, every time I step on stage, it's like, oh, here's the actor now. What's he going to say his lines? You know, it's not a real person going through something.
That's great.
So that's what we developed on, and he was like, I noticed that. And I was like, really? I was like, I didn't even think about it before.
That's
like,
fascinating,
yeah,
but
like,
that gives the emotional connection. That's why people they get entrenched into the story instead of distracted.
Yeah,
right?
real kid, real problems, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. What do you like about New York?
The culture around theater is really surprising. The Broadway community, people told me, you know, there is one. And in London, you know, you could say there's like definitely tissue connecting the shows that you can say, oh, I know so-and-so because they're in Harry Potter. Here it's like, I do actually know people in Harry Potter, and it's really strange and lovely to have this new world of like open arms and open hearts, and it's honestly made the whole process so much easier to know that I have friends in any part of New York. You know, any event, there's always somebody there that knows me and will say hi and will give me a hug, say, hey, we're talking about this. And that's what I love about it. You know, the inclusivity has been really nice.
I agree with you completely. I know it's a big city. I know there's lots and lots of people and people come from everywhere, but I do feel it's very, there's a lot of family here.
I know, especially coming off as like an alien and being here on my own and, you know, leaving my life. It's been challenges, and then honestly, like the Broadway community's made it just completed that part of me.